Hey, welcome to Saturday morning tutorials. What we're going to cover today, we can set up some parameters, right? So these parameters on this particular mission, we can choose the time of day, so morning, day, evening, and night. We can choose weather. You can make it storm, yada yada yada. You can also do this by placing a Zeus module in those two cases. Blah blah blah. Having trouble talking this morning. And then we can do an enemy volume, low, medium, and high. So if you're spawning in enemies, like I showed in the previous tutorial video, you can then spawn in multiple versions, right? So we could do a low for maybe a single player version. We could do medium that adds more, and we can do a high where it's going to add so many enemies that you're probably going to need a team of 4, or it's going to take a single player substantially longer to complete it. So let's dig into, we'll show you what it does first, right? So it's low, medium, and high. Let's pick low as default, and we'll just launch the game real quick and see how many enemies are in there. And this is a mission style called HVT. It's basically go in, kill the high value target, and then get to exfil. So this mission is, you obviously go in, kill so damn insane, then you've got to get to the exfil point from which an attacking squad and technical are coming from. Again, we start in a chopper here, but what I want to show you is enemy count. So we have 39 to kill on small. Okay, let's get out of there. We'll relaunch it. On medium, we're going to have a bit more. Cue in the Jeopardy theme song here. Okay. Enemy count. So yeah, we've almost doubled the enemy count here with 75 from 39. And then finally, let's see if it works this way, if I can change it. I think I always have to relaunch it, but I could be wrong. Down, 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 down. Spent a lot of time waiting for Arma to load. Worth it. It's the greatest game ever. Enemy count. Worked. So 135 to kill. That's a substantial amount of enemies for one person on one target. And we can jump out soon. You can see them all down there in thermal, right? And I believe it starts out with 3 enemy technicals that you have to destroy. And just basically, all you got to do is kill the high value target. Once you do, however, I've then triggered all of those squads out there to stalk the player. So if I come out here and I take this 800 meter shot and kill so damn insane, then all these bastards are going to attack me, and I still have to get to exfil and those guys coming from exfil are also stalking. So you're dealing with a fucking army at that point. So different ways to trigger, you know, that stalk function that I was talking about in the other tutorial. So you can see there that we incrementally increase the troop count, and we make a nice parameter where we can do so. How is this done on the back end of things? So I believe what we do is we put this into the description.ext file. So let's take a look. If we can find it, this would be HVT Iraq 2, which is fine because it's the same as HVT Iraq. So if we go into description.ext, not right now, thank you though for asking. And the description.ext file, if you're not familiar with it, there is a good wiki that Bohemia Interactive has on their website. You can set the author on load name, mission start, it's going to have the description. And I've set some things here for, these are basically uploaded sounds, modified sounds that I'm using in this particular mission. For instance, when your teammate dies, it plays the A-Team theme on this one. It got a little annoying after 2 years, I think. So here you'll see where we define those class parameters. So the ones here, weather and daytime, these guys are default parameters, okay? But the one I had to, when we're talking about the low, medium, and high AI counts, enemy AI counts, then we need to define a custom parameter, or a custom class rather, that will show up as a parameter, okay? So we create the class and it would just be, I just called it enemy volume. So it would be class space enemy volume. You need your brackets because coding follows format. So for the title, I called it enemy volume, as we saw in the menu. And then the texts I wanted available were low, medium, and high. Low is 1 for a value, medium is 2 for a value, and high is 3. So the default is 1. Okay, well, how do we apply this, you're asking, in the game? Well, that is a very good question. So what I'll do is I'll pipe this code in so that you can put it into your description.ext, and I'll also link the documentation for description.ext in the description so that you guys can kind of read what Bohemia Interactive has to say about it and then understand exactly what this is doing. But how do we call this in game? So this is how it shows up in our menu. Someone selects medium. How do we know that that's a 2? Okay. Well, first we have to go into game and define that as a variable so that we can call that variable later. So I have get enemy volume as a trigger here. The condition is true. It's going to run. Okay. What you're going to find, and I'll link this information to you. This is a great function. We're going to get our parameter value. So we're going to call. Honestly, this is just, you don't even need this. This is something that Threaten Enhanced puts in. It puts this call stuff in. But anyway, we're defining the variable squad. Okay, squad is going to equal enemy volume, which we defined in our description ext. Let's pan out and look at that. Okay, here's our class, enemy volume. That's what we're calling here. Let's go back in here. There it is again, right? I always copy paste because I will misspell it and it won't work. So you want it to be exact because it's code. We've got our quotes around it. comma 1, meaning 1 is the default, okay? We have 1, 2, or 3, low, medium, and high. 1 is our default. We can select medium or high in the menu. Okay, and then we're just going to call the BIS function get parameter value. Now that's going to say squad equals 1 if we don't do anything, if we just launch the mission. If we go into parameters and select medium, then squad is going to equal 2. Okay, if we choose large, then squad is going to equal 3. Well, what do we do with that? Great question. So what you'll see here is I have 3 triggers to spawn in enemies, okay? So for small, and I want to iterate because I didn't do it well enough on my advanced spawn tutorial, but if you're spawning in AI, only do it on the server. So I'm going to explain this condition. So condition is server. This is saying I have to be the server, so either someone hosting a mission and letting their friends join in or on a dedicated server. You want your enemy only spawning on the server and not on other clients as well, because what's going to happen is this code is going to execute on every host. And so if you've got 10 people, you've just got 10 times the enemy that you're going to fight. But it also creates problems with lag, latency, and the kills do not become smooth. So always spawn your enemies or anything on the host only. Okay? So I have is server and trigger activated get enemy volume, which was the previous trigger I was showing you. We have to know what the enemy volume is before we commit this trigger, because this is going to determine how many enemies we're spawning in. And so get enemy volume and squad equals 1. So our trigger to get the enemy volume has ran. We know that squad equals 1 because we just hit play and we're going to use 1 as the default. It's going to spawn in this code. It's going to execute this code, which is going to spawn in a limited number of enemies. So we need 3 triggers because we have 3 different choices here that we can choose from. So we need a trigger to spawn in more and more enemy for each of those. So you'll see I have spawn, init, medium. I just name things so that I know what they are for the variable names and triggers, so that I know that this is the spawn initiating the medium value of enemy AI when the game starts. So again, we're making sure that we're on this server because we only want to spawn these enemies and it'll run much more efficiently. And then that trigger was activated to get the enemy volume, and that value, squad, equals 2. As you can see here, if we put this code side by side, you'd see I'm spawning in substantially more people. And we saw that as well when we did the enemy count. All right. And so hopefully that makes sense in that we have 3 different triggers to recap here. We have 3 different triggers to deploy the 3 different volumes of enemies that we would want. We have a trigger to essentially understand which volume we chose in the menu. So we have to create that variable, and we just make the condition of that trigger true because we want it to happen. It's flipping true, man. Okay, and then in our Description.ext, we need to just define that class enemy volume with a title, the text that we're going to show that are available with the values, and what the default value is. So I hope this helps and you can create your own parameters. This one is just the only one I've really ever done as far as creating my own custom parameter. I wanted something where we could adjust the enemy volume so that if we had more people join in, we could do a high one and everyone would have, we'd have enough enemies for 4 people to be killing folks in maybe a half hour to an hour period, etc. Whereas low, that makes for a nice single player or even a 2 player quick session. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope this helps. And good luck with your coding. You'll find all the links in the description. Until next time, thanks for watching.